watching CKDU Sports on Halifax.ca.
On the whole Patrice Cormier situation.
Well, there's no question that if Michael Tam hadn't been on the ground convulsing, that this wouldn't have been as big of an issue that it is. Marco Scandella, I'm not sure if you're aware of that situation, but Marco Scandella, he elbowed a guy from Rimouski just last week, and he got suspended indefinitely too. But the guy, he had some severe mouth damage and lost some teeth, but he rolled around the ground and got back up. There wasn't a life and death situation. But the fact that the elbow was vicious, sure, and it was a little premeditated. Although, for any hockey player to say, yeah, I totally plan to go out there and throw that elbow, everything has to work out perfectly to catch that player that way at that time. He was just coming off the bench. The punishment's severe, and it's making a statement, and it's unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate Michael Tam got hit that hard, of course, but I think it's also unfortunate to Patrice Cormier because I know the kid, and he is a good kid, and he's a good, nice young man who always had his head on straight. The family is a great family, and it's just the circumstances for him. Everything added up to disaster. He hit him in the right spot. He hit him blatantly. He hit him viciously, and the result was almost a near-death experience from this Tam kid. And the convulsing on the ice, I think, was the worst part of it.
Right.
That's the vision that's stuck in everybody's mind. Not so much the hit. When you see the hit, because the angle of it isn't that great either, I don't think. But when you see the hit, you don't think, wow, that was the worst hit I've ever seen. But then when you see him on the ice, I think that's what led to the situation.
Do you think, some people have said that Patrice Cormier, even though he issued a statement, showed a pretty genuine lack of remorse afterwards? Do you think Patrice wasn't apologetic enough?
Well, coming off the ice, it looked like he was caught up in the moment. And I'm sure that he was getting a little bit of flack for it from the Quebec bench. And let's face it, Patrick Roy, he's pretty verbal on that bench, and his assistant coaches are. I've been around them and heard that the way they speak during the game. He verbalizes his opinion, there's no doubt about it. I'm sure the bench was up in arms at it, and rightfully so. But what in the attitude of hockey, in the persona of hockey, and the way you act in hockey, it's always, even when you do something like that, even when you're in the wrong and when you've laid out a vicious hit or maybe beat somebody up or so on and so forth, to walk out there and apologetic with your tail between your legs just doesn't happen. Now whether or not he didn't show any remorse and maybe looked a little bit arrogant, yeah, you might be right, but I'm not surprised that he acted the way he did. He is a 19-year-old young man who has a lot of lessons to learn in life, and let's face it, we're putting this guy on a pedestal. He was the captain of Team Canada, and a great hockey player and an NHL draft pick, and so on and so on. But he still obviously, has to learn how to act in certain situations. So this situation presented itself, and he didn't handle it very well. But I'm not surprised, that there's failures and there's inappropriate behavior sometimes, because everybody does it. Patrice Cormier's elbow, although vicious, and sure there was some intent to harm in there, I don't think he intended for the guy to have a near-death experience, and there's no doubt about it. And I don't think there's any place for it in hockey, but it's going to happen because it's a contact sport. But something that got me thinking the other day, and this is almost like an issuance of pride, but who would you consider perhaps the most iconic hockey player of all time?
The great one.
Well, yeah, in a lot of respects in the modern era, but of all time.
Gordie Howe.
Gordie Howe. And what was he known for without question?
The Gordie Howe hat trick.
Yeah, but he also threw elbows, and that was what, and I'm sure you've heard of this before.
Right.
Gordie Howe was Mr. Elbow. See, he was known for keeping everybody honest by throwing an elbow into the chops. And I'm sure there were some injuries as a result, but let's face it, that that brawl that Patrick Roy's son got into with Bobby Nadeau, right, a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That type of stuff. Bill, I grew up watching that stuff in the ring.
Right.
There weren't. I think it's just a matter of the media right now.
Well,
that hit would have never been seen 10 years ago.
Well, that's my.
There would have been some little rinky-dink camera and ran around it, even though it's not much better now.
Right.
But with the YouTube and the viral, viral media out there, and the way everything gets kind of, I shouldn't say exploited, but and more people can analyze it, and there's just much more to talk about, So anyway, it's kind of disturbing to me. I think it's also going to clean up things, right? I like that, but it's also kind of disturbing to me how sensationalism now is such a big part of everything, including sports.